Shalom and welcome to Middle East in less than 5 minutes. I'm Igal and today we're talking about Doug Ford's theatrical last-minute attempt to stop a hate rally in Toronto, the judge who blocked him, a judge who previously represented Khair Khan and Muslim civil liberties groups, and the name Al-Quds that proves Palestinians are worshipping at a Jewish holy site while denying Jewish history. This is going to piss some people off. Good. What happened? On Friday, March 14, 2026, one day before the Al-Quds Day rally in Toronto, Ontario Premier Doug Ford announced he'd instructed his Attorney General to seek an injunction to stop the demonstration. Ford called it a breeding ground for hate and antisemitism. The rally was scheduled for Saturday afternoon outside the U.S. Consulate in downtown Toronto, the same consulate that had been shot at on Tuesday morning, March 11th. And in the 2 weeks prior, 3 Toronto synagogues were also shot at. So Ford, facing escalating violence, shots fired at Jewish institutions, shots fired at the U.S. Consulate, and a rally organized by groups with links to designated terrorist organizations, sought an injunction. But here is the thing. Ford waited until the last possible minute. The Al-Quds Day rally happens every year. Same time, same place. Everyone knows it's coming. Ford has been premier since 2018, when he first promised to ban the rally altogether. 8 years, nothing. Then, one day before the rally, after synagogues and a consulate get shot at, Ford suddenly decides to act. Critics immediately accused him of political theater, appeasing the Jewish population without actually doing anything effective. And they might have a point. The Ontario government filed its motion Saturday at noon, just hours before the rally was set to begin at 3 p.m. Ontario Superior Court Justice Robert Centa heard the case by video conference and rejected it. Less than an hour before the rally was scheduled to start, Justice Centa ruled that there was insufficient evidence that police needed an injunction to keep the peace. The rally proceeded, 4,500 people, Palestinian flags, Iranian flags, chants of Free Palestine. Doug Ford issued a statement saying he was extremely disappointed, and the Jewish community was left wondering, was this ever serious or just political cover? What is Al-Quds Day? Let's start with the name. Al-Quds is the Arabic name for Jerusalem. It means the holy or the holy place. But here's the part they don't want you to know. Al-Quds is derived from the Hebrew word for the Jewish temple. The original Arabic name, used after the Muslim conquest in 638 CE, was Beit al-Maqdis, which is a direct translation of the Hebrew Beit HaMikdash, meaning the holy house or the temple, the Jewish temple, the one that stood on the Temple Mount for 1,000 years before Islam even existed. Muslims took the Hebrew name for the Jewish temple, translated it into Arabic, and then softened it to Al-Quds starting in the 9th century. So every time someone says Al-Quds, they're acknowledging, whether they realize it or not, that Jerusalem's holiness comes from the Jewish temple. The name itself is a proof that Jews were there first, that Jerusalem is a Jewish city, that the Temple Mount is the holiest site in Judaism. And that's the name of the rally Ford tried to stop at the last minute for political points. Al-Quds Day, Iranian invention. Al-Quds Day was created in 1979 by Ayatollah Khomeini, the Iranian revolutionary leader who founded the Islamic Republic of Iran. It's not a Palestinian thing, it's an Iranian thing. Khomeini designated the last Friday of Ramadan as Al-Quds Day, a day for Muslims worldwide to protest Israel's existence and call for its destruction. It's held annually in cities around the world: Tehran, Beirut, London, Toronto. And it's always the same: Iranian flags, Hezbollah flags, Hamas flags, chants calling for Israel's elimination. In 2024, the British government banned the Al-Quds Day March in London after police requested it, citing public safety concerns. In 2026, Doug Ford pretended to try to do the same in Toronto, and a Canadian judge called his bluff. The rally and its organizers. The Al-Quds Day rally in Toronto was organized by the Al-Quds Committee. The Ontario government's legal submission alleged links between the Toronto rally and Samidoun, a designated terrorist organization in Canada. Samidoun is a pro-Palestinian group that openly supports designated terrorist organizations, including Hamas, the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, PFLP, and others. Canada designated Samidoun a terrorist entity in October 2024. The Ontario government argued that Al-Quds Day began as a brainchild of a terrorist regime, Iran, and serves as a forum for the expression of the most hateful antisemitism and for the counseling of violence. But Justice Centa wasn't convinced. He ruled that the charter rights of participants to assemble and speak freely must be protected, and that police already have powers to enforce the law without needing a court injunction. Ford's timing problem. Here's a timeline. Every year since 1979, Al-Quds Day happens. Everyone knows when, everyone knows where. 2018, Doug Ford becomes premier, promises to ban the rally, and he doesn't. 2019 to 2025, Al-Quds Day rallies proceed every year. Ford does nothing. Late February to early March 2026, 3 Toronto synagogues shot at. March 11, 2026, Tuesday, U.S. Consulate shot at. March 14, 2026, Friday, one day before the rally, Ford finally announces he wants an injunction. March 15, 2026, Saturday noon, government files motion hours before rally. If Ford was serious about stopping the rally, he had months to prepare a proper legal case. He could have filed weeks in advance. He could have built a comprehensive argument about public safety, terrorism links, and incitement. Instead, he waited until synagogues and the consulate were shot at, then filed a half-assessed motion the day before the rally. Critics are right. This looks like political theater designed to show Jewish voters that Ford tried without actually accomplishing anything. And Justice Centa, whether you agree with his ruling or not, wasn't going to grant an injunction based on a rushed, last-minute filing. Justice Robert Centa, the judge who said no. Now let's talk about the judge. Justice Robert Centa was appointed to the Ontario Superior Court in May 2022 by the federal government. Before that, he was a managing partner at Baleare Roland Rosenberg Rothstein LLP in Toronto. But here's what you need to know about his background. In 2018, when Robert Centa was a lawyer at Baleare Roland, he acted as a counsel for Canadian Consul of American Islamic Relations, Khair Khan, now known as the National Council of Canadian Muslims, NCCM, and the Canadian Muslim Civil Liberties Association. This is documented in the 2008 Iacobucci inquiry, a public inquiry into Canadian officials' actions regarding detainees like Abdullah al-Malki, Ahmad Abu al-Mati, and Muayyid Nuruddin, related to post-9/11 security certificates and renditions. Court records list Robert A. Centa as counsel for Khair Khan and the Canadian Muslim Civil Liberties Association as intervenors in that inquiry. Now, Khair Khan is a Canadian affiliate of Khair, the Council on American Islamic Relations, and Khair, in the United States, was named an unindicted co-conspirator in the Holy Land Foundation case, the largest terrorism financing trial in American history, where the Holy Land Foundation was convicted of funneling millions of dollars to Hamas. Yes, the same one that Mamdani endorsed. In 2008, the FBI officially cut ties with Caire, with FBI Special Agent Lara Burns testifying that Caire was a front group for Hamas. Caire Khan has distanced itself from American organization and rebranded as the National Council of Canadian Muslims. Canada has not designated it a terror-linked entity. But the fact remains, the judge who ruled against forced injunction, a judge presented with a rushed last-minute motion, previously represented Caire Khan and Muslim civil liberties groups in 2008. Conflict of interest or just bad lawyering by the government? Now, let me be clear. Lawyers represent all kinds of clients. That's how the legal profession works. Representing Caire Khan in 2008 doesn't automatically mean bias in 2026. But when a judge with a documented history of representing Muslim advocacy organizations, including the Canadian affiliate of a group the FBI called the Hamas Front, rules against an injunction to stop an Iranian-backed anti-Israel rally, and when that injunction was filed in the last possible minute with insufficient evidence, you've got two possibilities. 1. Ford fucked up by waiting too long and presenting a weak case. 2. Centa was biased because of his prior representation of Muslim groups. Or both. Justice Centa's ruling focused on charter protection for free expression and noted that the government failed to provide sufficient evidence that police needed a court order to keep the peace. That's actually a reasonable legal position, especially when the government files a motion hours before an event. But it also plays perfectly into the narrative that Ford never intended to succeed. He just wanted to be seen trying. Since his appointment, Justice Centa has handled multiple cases involving Muslim organizations since becoming a judge. In 2023, he presided over a case involving the Muslim Association of Canada, MAC, a registered charity under CRA audit. MAC sought to seal certain documents. Justice Centa refused, ordering that court proceedings remain public. And in 2024, Justice Centa previously ruled on Al-Quds Day rally cases with the Canadian Muslim Lawyers Association involved as an interventor or related party in advocacy around civil liberties and free expression. So this isn't his first Al-Quds Day case, and it's not his first case involving Muslim advocacy groups. But again, was the problem Centa's bias or Ford incompetence? The judgment. Justice Centa's reasoning. The court expects the participants not to engage in any criminal or tortious activities during the protest. The court expects the police to reinforce the law. No order of this court is necessary to achieve either of these ends. He continued, the right to assemble and speak freely must be maintained in times of global conflict. Perhaps at no other time is the protection of our civil liberties more important. Translation. You filed this motion at the last minute with weak evidence. I'm not banning a rally based on your political stand. Police can do their jobs without a court order. Ford responded, the judge also said the Toronto Police Service do not need an injunction to preserve the peace. That's unbelievable. If that's the case, I fully expect that the police will immediately intervene at the first sign of hate, violence, or glorification of terrorist organizations. Translations. I tried. It's the judge's fault. Classic political ass covering. What happened at the rally? The rally proceeded. An estimated 4,500 people attended. Palestinian flags, Iranian flags, chants of Free Palestine, calls for no war in Iran and Lebanon. Counter-protesters also showed up, waving Israeli flags, American flags, and pre-revolution Iranian flags. Toronto police made 2 arrests, both counter-protesters. One allegedly spat at a participant wearing an Islamic Republic of Iran flag, ripped the flag off their back, and later lit a flag on fire while wearing Islamic Republic flags attached to the soles of his shoes. He was charged with public incitement of hatred, criminal harassment, and assault. The other counter-protester was also charged with assault. 0 arrests of Al-Quds Day participants. The hypocrisy. Let me get this straight. A rally celebrating an Iranian-invented day calling for Israel's destruction, organized by groups with links to designated terrorist organizations, held outside a building that was shot at 4 days earlier, in a city where 3 synagogues were shot at in the prior 2 weeks, proceeds without issue. But counter-protesters who rip Iranian regime flags and burn them get arrested and charged with hate crimes. Meanwhile, Ford waits until the last minute to file an injunction, presents weak evidence, gets rejected by the court, blames the judge. Jewish community is left with nothing. This is what political theater looks like. Why this matters? Al-Quds Day is not about Palestinian rights. It's about destroying Israel. The name Al-Quds itself, derived from the Hebrew name for the Jewish temple, is proof that Jerusalem is a Jewish city. Muslims didn't build Jerusalem, they didn't name it, they conquered it in 638 CE, translated the Hebrew name, and claimed it as their own. And now every year, they march in cities around the world, demanding that Jews be driven out of the very city whose Arabic name acknowledges Jewish presence. It's a rebellion. And in Toronto in 2026, Doug Ford pretended to stop it at the last minute. A judge who previously represented Khair Khan said no. The rally proceeded, counter-protesters got arrested, and the Jewish community learned that their ally was just performing for votes. The bigger picture. This is what happens when politicians prioritize optics over action. Ford had 8 years to deal with Al-Quds Day. He promised to ban it in 2018. He did nothing. Then when synagogues and a consulate get shot at, he files a rushed motion 1 day before the rally that any competent judge would reject. Either Ford is incompetent and doesn't know how to file a proper injunction, or Ford never intended to succeed and just wanted political cover. Or maybe both. Meanwhile, Jewish institutions are getting shot at, and politicians on both sides are playing games. The left refuses to condemn Islamist extremism because of Islamophobia. The right makes symbolic gestures without follow-through because we tried. And Jews are left unprotected. The name says it all. Remember, Al-Quds means the holy, but it's short for Beit al-Maqdis, the holy house, a translation of the Hebrew Beit HaMikdash, the Jewish temple. Every time someone says Al-Quds, they're admitting Jerusalem belongs to the Jews. They just don't realize it. And when they march for Al-Quds Day, they're marching for a city whose very name in Arabic proves it's Jewish. The irony would be funny if politicians weren't using Jewish safety as a prop for their political theater. If you find this episode helped you see the world differently or understand something that bothered you, follow the podcast, rate it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, wherever you listen to it, and share it with your friends. Help spread the word. Thank you. I'm Igal, and this was Middle East in less than 5 minutes. Until next time, Shalom.